Vice Chair Mercer, would you please read the statement to bring us back into open session?
Yes. Chair Swigert, I move that the record shows that the only item discussed in the closed meeting were those specifically cited in the motion to convene into the closed meeting and those lawfully exempted from statutory meeting requirements.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Lamonia. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with all board members voting yes.
Dr. Cotton, do you have items resulting from closed session?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I have a couple of motions related to student matters. The first motion, I recommend that students number 2, 3, 4, and 5 be expelled.
I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Ms. Scott. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCormick. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with a vote of 8-0 with board member Boone abstaining.
Dr. Cotton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second motion on student matters, I recommend student number 1 be expelled under conditions discussed.
I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Dr. Walker. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Lamonia. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with a vote of 8-0 with board member Boone abstaining.
Dr. Cotton.
Thank you. I have a personnel motion that requires board approval. Mr. J. Edward Ewing, Crisis Management and Critical Incident Response Coordinator from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice to Assistant Principal, Chesapeake Center for Student Success.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mercer. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCormick. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with all board members voting yes.
Are there any additional items resulting from closed session?
In regards to the appeal of the superintendent's decision pursuant to School Board Policy 921 and in reference to Student 6, I move to support the recommendation of the superintendent.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Scott. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with a vote of 8-0 with board member Boone abstaining.
We will now move on to the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'd like to call upon Pastor Dave Peterson from Apostles Lutheran Church to provide tonight's invocation. Afterward, I'll ask Lauren Dittberner, a 5th grade student from Western Branch Intermediate, to lead us in the pledge. Please stand as you are able.
And provide our invocation this evening. Among many accomplishments of the Reformation in the 16th century, Martin Luther was a strong advocate for quality public education, accessible by all. One of our Lutheran hymns, Earth and All Stars, includes these wonderful lyrics, and if you like, you're welcome to join along and sing, but I'll spare you my singing. Classrooms and labs, loud boiling test tubes, sing to the Lord a new song. Athlete and band, loud cheering people, sing to the Lord a new song. Knowledge and truth, loud sounding wisdom, sing to the Lord a new song. He has done marvelous things. I too will praise him with a new song. May we pause for a moment and pray together. For life and health and every good thing, we give you thanks and praise, O God. And for our Chesapeake School Board, Public School Board, and those attending this meeting, we thank you for bestowing peaceful and thoughtful deliberations amid the topics of discussion. We thank you for our school administrators and teachers. We implore you for your blessing over them as they shape and hone the minds of their students, providing not only quality education, but the shaping of outstanding character. We thank you for each growing student and their families and for the honor that comes with being part of their lives. Thank you for a magnificent educational system that provides quality, creative learning environments where questions and exploration are valued and available to all students. We thank you that as you keep watch over our schools, that you neither slumber nor rest, and implore you that you would diligently protect our schools foil all evil plots, and safeguard them from all harm. To you alone belong all glory and honor, now and forever, and it is in your most holy and precious name that we pray together. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Peterson, and to Lauren and your family. Thank you for being with us tonight. There being no awards and recognitions this evening, we will move on to the public hearing for the superintendent's proposed capital improvement plan. Dr. Smith, are there any citizens who have requested time to speak under this public hearing section this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one citizen requesting time to speak. I'd like to call speaker number 1 to the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
Vic Nichols, Chesapeake. I didn't see anything in here about like Rena B. Wright or any of the other big emphasis on the SONO schools. I find that kind of disturbing because I don't know if y'all have been in some of them, and with all due respect, they remind me of what my mother used to tell me about schools in the 60s. I mean, for some reason, again, there it's like the air, the smell, and everything is like that. And I'm sure that has to be tough on the kids. You know, that's a good part of learning. So I know that the new elementary school you have is Culpeper Landing, but what happens is it's like the money goes towards the development, not towards the people that stay here. And honestly, that's a problem with council, and it's a problem too with the school board. Let's see what we can do to get them to give our kids something a bit better. On page 9, this is just a little something different. It's red in the high development zones. One, in terms of, since homeschooling and other types of non-traditional schooling is going on, have we taken a look at, because that's been growing by leaps and bounds. So it's something I think we need to take a look at, and a little bit of plug for my own. Indian River Middle needs some help. Thank you.
This concludes our speakers under public hearing tonight.
We will now move on to the hearing of citizens. During their allotted time, speakers should observe our rules of decorum and know that expressions of concerns and criticism on matters of school policy and operations is welcome. While the speaker's own comments are welcome, they may not play pre-recorded messages. Dr. Smith, are there any citizens who have requested time to speak this evening under this section?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 4 citizens requesting to speak.
I want to thank those speakers who have signed up to address the board this evening. There are 2 ways that citizens can request time to speak at the meeting. You can call the clerk's office before 12 noon the day of the meeting, or sign up to speak prior to the start of the meeting in person. All in-person requests to speak must be submitted to the deputy clerk 5 minutes prior to the published meeting start time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your allotted time is over, we ask that you promptly exit the podium. You may choose to sit in the boardroom if seats are available, but standing or sitting on the floor will not be permitted, and you may not block the exit doors. We would also like to ask that you refrain from any behavior that disrupts the meeting, including the use of profanity, applause, cheering, or jeering. Dr. Smith, please call the first speaker.
Yes, I'd like to invite speaker number 1 to the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
Vic Nichols, Chesapeake, again. A very disturbing instance happened in St. Helens, the Oregon School District. Their school board got blasted, not just by parents, but by the students also, because they allowed 2 teachers who are accused of pedophilia continue working despite allegations that went all the way back to 2015, because the reports were filed but never disclosed, and nothing was done about it. I want to know what the public policy is of the school board on this, because it would be a whole lot better to resolve situations to protect the children than to let this thing happen like it did, because the students were the most heart-rendering to listen to instances and things that happened I don't want to see it here. Thank you.
It appears that speaker number 2 is a no-show, so I'd like to invite speaker number 3 to the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
Good evening, Linda Tyndall, Chesapeake. I'm also known as Bus 590, covering Route 0644 at Cedar Road Elementary, Hugo Owens Middle, and Great Bridge Middle. I've been driving for Chesapeake Public Schools since 1999. I became a bus driver because it was breaking my heart to have my son in childcare. I wanted to be home and present in his life. So I traded a more lucrative career for a part-time job with a split shift, a huge take-home vehicle, and less than a living wage. As an employee of Chesapeake Public Schools, I have earned 10 sick days and 3 personal days each year. My strong work ethic keeps me on my bus. I have accrued over a year of sick leave. Upon retirement, per school board policy, I will only be reimbursed for 60 days of my accrued leave. I am now in a use it or lose it situation. I need to redeem over 75 days per year to bring down my banked leave balance to 60 days. I would prefer to stay on my bus and transport my kids to and from school until my retirement. I've been told by my supervisors and director and payroll personnel that this is the school board policy and it has always been this way. It would need to be addressed by the school board. So here I am. We are now at a crisis point with driver shortages. Just like the drivers were told when Chesapeake Public Schools changed their policy to centralized parking, instead of allowing drivers to keep their buses at home, times are bad, change is hard. I'm here to ask the school board to address this issue. I'm requesting this policy change as an effort to keep us rolling and reduce the absenteeism caused by this issue. It's time to implement an annual buyback cash-out opportunity or pay out an extra 1 or 2 hours per day as a sick leave redemption option, or fully reimburse all employees for all accrued leave upon retirement, not just 60 days. I do not intend to walk away from a year of earned compensation. With 150 bus driver vacancies, those salaries are sitting around somewhere, and our stop sign cameras are bringing in a bus ton of money. Times are bad, change is hard. You can fix this issue and keep us rolling. There are many longtime drivers that need to use it or lose it. Others are burning their leave to avoid accruing more than 60 days. I look forward to a solution that will allow me to stay on my bus and continue to get my kids to school and back home again, and to eliminate the need for another driver to double back to cover Route 0644 at my 3 schools. Parents are frustrated and students are missing valuable class time due to late buses and doublebacks. Please consider my request and suggestions. Thank you.
Speaker number 4, I'd like to invite you to the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
Hello. My name's Amanda Wilson, and I am from Chesapeake, Virginia. I have never been to a school board meeting. I have not been prepared. I did not know I could sign up right out at the table outside. So if I knew I could be prepared, I probably would have wrote a whole nice little speech. But I'm just going to speak a little bit from my heart. I have 2 students at Grassfield High School, a son and a daughter. And I'm sure you are all aware of the incident that happened recently there with a gun and their safety of the children and the staff at that school. I'm just here to maybe bring it to the attention that I feel like we kind of missed the mark on this incident a little bit. And I feel like as parents, and I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of families that I know, a lot of moms, obviously in this situation, that really want to know, was it handled appropriately? We don't know. I feel like we got very politically correct emails and not a lot of answers or a lot of detail of what actually occurred that day. So there is speculation, and we still feel very uncomfortable. And I'm a person of proactiveness and not reactiveness. That's kind of how I do my work. That's kind of how I live my life, is how can we be a little more proactive in this? This could have been a lot worse, and we could be having a lot different of a conversation at this point. But I don't know if any of you are parents, but when you get a call like that, that's something involved with your child standing in that school, your heart sinks and you almost lose it for a second. That could have been your kid. And we hear it around everywhere. the best neighborhoods, the worst neighborhoods. But I really feel like we do need to talk about some of the safety. The world is changing. There is so much technology. I know that it's hard to get 2,800 to 3,000 students in a school through a metal detector. I'm aware of that type of time. But there are different systems now to kind of be proactive in these situations. I think we have big schools and not a lot of them, so if we can maybe just have some discussions on how we can look at the future for our schools, for our safety. I have many more years in the public schools, and I know my kids are scared. You know what I mean? And when we pray over it, I give them crosses to make sure they remember they're safe at school at this point, for them to feel okay. And I don't want them to have to feel like they're just okay and slightly safe. So just, was it taken care of appropriately when it happened? Is there anyone talking to the people that are responsible in that administration of that building to make sure it was? And how maybe we can go forward to maybe protect some of these high schools. And guns are very common in this area. Hunters, military, hands can get on them at any time. So that's really all I had to say. I'm sorry I didn't prepare some fancy speech, but I just wanted to kind of talk on behalf of my heart and on behalf of my children. So thank you.
This concludes our speakers for this evening.
Thank you for sharing your comments. Our practice is to receive information. However, we do not usually engage in dialogue, and that is our intent tonight. If appropriate and not already provided, someone from the superintendent's staff will evaluate your concern and provide a response. We will now move on to our consent agenda. I'll enter motion to approve made by Mr. Mercer. Is there a second? Seconded by Dr. Walker. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with all board members voting yes.
We will now move on to the information agenda. The first item is the school activity funds audit. Ms. Glod.
Thank you, Chair Swigert. This evening, I'm pleased to introduce Brittany Gregerson, a senior manager at Forbes, who will present the audit results for the school activity funds for fiscal year 2024. Before she begins, I would like to express my gratitude to the principals and bookkeepers for their diligent management of their school's activities fund. I also want to thank Tammy Rodriguez and Tracy Hamilton for their continuous support of the principals and bookkeepers. Their assistance in completing the audit and managing the funds throughout the year has been invaluable. I will now turn the floor over to Ms. Gregerson.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening. I recognize many familiar faces and I think a few new ones this year. So thank you for having me. My name is Brittany Gregerson. I'm a senior manager with Forbes Mazars. Our name has changed names a few times throughout the course of the audit, but been happy to serve you all for many years now. Again, want to echo Melissa's words. Want to thank the bookkeepers, the principals, Tammy Rodriguez and Tracy Hamilton for making this audit a smooth process again this year. We're fortunate to be able to present to you a unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we are able to provide, what you all want to hear. So no modifications or qualifications of the audit report. You all should have received 2 packages, which includes the combined statement of cash receipts and cash disbursements, as well as a report to the board. The report to the board is going to kind of cover a summary synopsis if we were to identify any disagreements with management, any adjusting journal entries, and then our recommendations from an internal control perspective. I think the financial statements really, you guys can review those, and those are going to give you the ins and the outs for the activity for each individual program at each individual school. Glad to see that activity is ramping back up after a few slower years with COVID. But I'm going to just hit on the key points from the report to the board, which is I think the pertinent information here for you all. This is going to go over our responsibilities as the auditors, as well as the responsibility of the management to provide us everything that we've asked for in a truthful manner and not hiding anything or disclosing anything that would be potentially misleading. If we had encountered any disagreements with management or had to consult with other accountants or auditors on any issues, we would have communicated that with you here. There's no such issues. And then we did not identify any adjusting journal entries or uncorrected misstatements on the student activity funds. Really timely reporting and great record keeping from all of the bookkeepers. there's essentially 3 levels of control findings that we could have. We could have material weaknesses, which would be really kind of the worst option that you have, a significant deficiency, and then deficiencies, which are really just things that we want to communicate to you all, potentially to better improve your controls. So there were just a few items that we had identified as deficiencies, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Just a few accounts throughout the year that had gone into a deficit position. So just making sure that the bookkeepers and the principals are monitoring if there's individual funds that are being overrun and that adequate fundraising is being done and tracking or transfers are properly addressed to avoid those deficit balances. One thing that we've pointed out, I think, for the last several years is just use of faculty funds and transfers of funds potentially from a general fund for faculty purposes, and making sure that there's clear policies in place. We're able to see that all transfers are being properly approved by the principal. But I think maybe further clarifying, well, at what level potentially is there additional approval needed? If that's going to a faculty purpose, is there any elevated reasons if there's a large faculty event that somebody outside of the principal potentially would need to do that? Elevate potentially to somebody at the school board. Just with recent happenings at other school boards, to be completely honest, there is that's an area that we particularly focus on for management override of controls. Just because the principal approved the transfer and the use of the funds doesn't necessarily mean it's the best use of the funds. So that's an area that we've made suggestions on in the past as well. Given just due to the size of the schools and the bookkeepers and principals primarily handling all of the cash, we've identified for several years segregation of duty deficiencies, and I think that the schools have implemented additional controls to have any time that cash is changing hands, there's a receipt between the teacher to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper has adequate documentation of all deposits, just to ensure that as cash is changing hands, that there's as much evidence as possible, as the bookkeeper does have the responsibility to handle both cash receipts and cash disbursements, which typically in an audit we would identify as a segregation of duty issue. And then just the security of cash, as we were going through certain interviews with bookkeepers at the schools. Certain schools, I think, have a very secure vault and safe, and that's where the cash is kept. And then there's certain schools where that is potentially being kept in a locked office, and just making sure that there's clear policies for all schools and that is being secured properly. I think something that even some of the bookkeepers have mentioned, just to ensure consistency across all schools. But overall, those were kind of our recommendations. Again, an unmodified audit opinion, and I will open it up if there's any questions from you all on either the financial statements or the communications to this board.
Does any board member have a question? I see none at this time, so thank you
All
for
right.
the report and
Thank
for your
you.
service. The next item on our information agenda is School Nutrition Services Restructure. Dr. Austin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. We have with us this evening Mr. Larry Wade, our Director of School Nutrition Services. He's going to be providing an update to what we are proposing as a significant restructure of school nutrition services and how we compensate our staff and some additional positions. I want to give a big thank you to Dr. Jatan Jones, Director of Professional Organizational Development, and Diane Overmiller, Executive Assistant to the Chief Human Resources Officer. Both of these ladies helped facilitate 4 different focus groups that we conducted. We conducted 3 focus groups with school-level leadership. That's the lead workers and the managers in each building. We also conducted a focus group with the senior administration at the division level. And those groups, along with a significant amount of work from Mr. Wade and his team, have led to this presentation. So, Mr. Wade, certainly appreciate you being here this evening, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. Good evening, Chair Schwaggart, members of the board, Dr. Cotton, and Cabinet. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding our request for S&S staff restructuring. The goal of the restructuring is to provide a sustainable competitive wage increase for the entire school nutrition department that will retain current staff and serve as an attractive incentive for recruiting new staff while moving our programs forward. Our purpose for the restructuring includes the opportunity for retaining current employees by providing competitive wage increase, recruit and retain new employees, provide an adequate staffing to implement scratch cooking in our kitchens, and to develop a career ladder for our school nutrition team members. Tonight, I'd like to share with you the justification for the restructuring, which include increased reimbursements. Our program is funded mostly by federal and state funds, along with some local revenue. We've witnessed an increase in reimbursement. In addition, we've also increased the number of schools in Chesapeake that offer the CEP program, which is a program that allows for every student in that building to receive meals at no cost. It is a federal program that's extended because of students who receive SNAP, TANF, and other assistance. In addition to that, we've also noticed an increase in our meal participation. I'll share in a moment some details and numbers and data. Because of these areas I've just mentioned, our revenue has increased. And as a result of our increased revenue, we now have an excess balance in Chesapeake School Nutrition Services. One of the primary reasons for the meal participation increase and one of the primary reasons for our increased revenue is due to our meal participation. The current chart on the screen shows some data and information that's very relevant to our restructuring. In 2018-2019 school year, we served 1.4 million breakfast meals and 2.5 million lunch meals. In school year 22-23, we served 1.8 million breakfast meals and 2.8 million lunch meals. That represents a 28% increase in breakfast meal participation and a 14% increase in lunch participation. To further point out our increase in meal participation, I'd like to share data from 23-24. In 23-24, our participation continued to soar. We served 2.1 million breakfast meals and 3.2 million lunch meals, which is representative of a 16% increase and a 12% increase. Since 2018, ladies and gentlemen, our meal participation has increased for breakfast more than 40% and for lunch more than 26%. The exciting good news is that we're on a consistent trajectory, as we've just been notified that Chesapeake schools increased breakfast participation the third highest in the entire state of Virginia. The excess balance plan that you see on the screen has been presented to the Virginia Department of Education, and they have already approved these funds. I point out that these funds are currently available, and they are not an impact on the school district's budget, nor the current school nutrition budget, as these are excess balance funds. The chart shows some of the projected initiatives that we hope to use the funds for salaries. That number that you see there of $8.6 million is a projected amount across a 3-year period. So the sustainability of the restructuring is sort of set in the direction of available funds that are now able to be spent on those salaries per the approval of this excess balance plan with the board. Next on the screen, you'll see facilities, equipment, food, training, and professional development, which are all projected initiatives upon which the Department of Education has already approved that we could use for the benefit of our program and the services that we offer to the students here in the city of Chesapeake. These next two slides represent our current school nutrition staffing structure and our request for proposed restructuring. Currently, ladies and gentlemen, we have 4 managers and 41 lead workers. Our proposal is that we move all of our managers and lead workers to SNS manager status. We're proposing these positions based on assigned meal participation for each school, so there will be 45 school nutrition managers in each throughout the district. We're requesting a creation of an assistant manager position in hopes of having a school nutrition assistant manager in every school based upon meal participation. We currently have 46 full-time food service workers. Our proposal is to have 56 full-time school nutrition assistants to help with increased workload and to have enough staff to handle the workload that we're currently experiencing. We have, at this time, 18 part-time school nutrition assistants and 174 substitutes. We propose that we move those 147 of those 192 positions to school nutrition part-time assistants, which is a move towards permanent status. In addition to that, the other 45 positions will help create the openings for the 45 school nutrition assistant jobs. We will maintain the substitute status, but will only fill those positions as needed, as our goal and hope is that we'll move all of our current substitutes and part-time staff onto a permanent status. The next screen shows lunchroom monitors. We have lunchroom monitors in elementary, primary, and intermediate schools, and we're requesting a name change so that the lunchroom monitors will now be called meal service attendants, which represent the opportunity for those individuals to work both in the kitchen and out in the dining room with students if they so wish, and it would help us with our current staffing structure. Next, we have currently warehouse couriers, 5 positions. We're proposing that we increase that by 1 position to a total of 6, and that we would change their name, the title of their position, to SNS Inventory Technicians 1 and 2. We also would like to introduce a new position called an SNS Supply Clerk. We currently have more than 135 deliveries coming out of our school nutrition warehouse each week, and by adding this position, it will help with the workload of increased meal participation. We also would like to add 6 part-time school nutrition warehouse technicians to help with the load of delivering food to all of our schools. A new position that we'd like to add is a training executive chef. We believe by adding this position, it will help us move towards scratch cooking and some of the other initiatives that we've begun within our school nutrition department. We'd also, because of the workload, ask that we add an SNS administrative assistant, as the workload with many of the projects that we have going on and the day-to-day operation continues to increase. This represents an increase of a total number of employees proposed at 378, which is a total increase of 20 employees. This next screen deals with the SNS staff restructuring cost estimate for the staff adjustments or restructuring. Our current salary cost is $8.3 million. We believe that our adjusted costs will raise to $11.2 million, which is an increase of $2.8 million. I'd like to note that that number of $2.83 million is per year, and the amount of funds currently available to achieve the restructuring covers a 3-year period of time. So we currently, at this moment, have enough funding to support this restructuring for 3 years to come. It's a very sustainable project and a very sustainable concept, and we believe that because of our participation is increasing, that we'll continue to not only be able to handle this current cost, but to be able to come back and particularly do things for our team that will help with competitive wages. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the restructuring plan will help SNS move forward with continuing to provide healthy and nutritious meals for all of our students here in the city of Chesapeake as we begin the journey of assisting and continuing to assist the education mission. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mercer?
Mr. Wade, thank you
Yes.
for that presentation. I've always had the concern that because we run a separate, by law, we run a separate budget for school nutrition.
Yes, sir.
That some of our employees lose out because part-time employees at certain hourly sections aren't available for benefits, insurance, and everything. And it looks like we're moving in the right direction here to provide those benefits. Am I right?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, that's exciting. You know,
It is.
as much as I'm favor of our bus transportation. I know we're going to hear from them in a minute. They've been able to provide that over the years because they're on the unified budget with the school system. But it sounds like we're making some tremendous inroads, and you've got the money for it, too. That's always exciting.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations on increased revenues. That makes this possible so that you can do it internally and everything. It just kudos to you and your
sir.
staff.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Walker?
Hey, Mr. Wade.
Hi, Dr. Walker.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
wondering, currently, are there any shortages in the current positions that we have staffed right now? And the reason I'm asking is I'm wondering, looking into the future, do you anticipate there to be a difficulty in staffing these new positions, or have you looked into that at all?
Yes, ma'am. We currently have approximately 46 positions open, and we do believe that by instituting the restructuring concept and increasing our wages, that we will bring more people to our department and to our school district. And so we do believe that this will be a great opportunity, as Mr. Mercer's pointed out, to move forward.
Nice recruitment strategy, hopefully. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe I see any additional questions at the time. I certainly want to add kudos to the increase in the participation in the meals. I think most of us on this board are parents or have been parents, or I guess are still parents, or have had school-age children. We've all had school-age children at one point. The point being, we all know how picky eaters these kids can be, and the fact that you're continuing to have increases in students wanting to have your meals is kudos to your department. So
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We will now move on to the Human Capital Management System replacement. Over to you, Dr. Faust.
Good evening, Chair Swigert, Vice Chair Mercer, school board members, Dr. Cotton, esteemed colleagues, and community members. Tonight, I'm pleased to provide an update on a significant initiative for our school division, the implementation of our new Human Capital Management System, UKG. Before I begin, I would like to recognize the core project team members who have joined us here this evening, whose dedication has been unwavering throughout this process. Part of our core team are Dr. Brian Austin, Miss Melissa Glod, Miss Kelly Tisdale, and Miss Audrey Conrad, who are in the audience and sat purposefully, I think, behind the beam so I can't see them, or they can't see me. I'm not sure which. Next slide, please. UKG will enable CPS to seamlessly connect every aspect of the employee life cycle or experience. From recruitment and onboarding to payroll, benefits, and professional development, this comprehensive, accessible platform will provide a single pane of glass for our employees and administrators to access critical information and systems from anywhere at any time. Implementing UKG is a strategic investment in the future of our school division. This innovative platform will help streamline operations, enhance the employee experience, and empower data-driven decision-making. By replacing legacy platforms with a scalable, user-friendly solution, we can increase efficiency, continue to ensure compliance, and support our district's desire to provide the best solutions for our employees. Ultimately, UKG will support our efforts to better serve our community by helping to optimize our workforce, fostering a positive, engaged, and efficient organizational culture. Next slide, please. Why UKG? Well, UKG is not just a software upgrade. It's a comprehensive solution designed to streamline our operations, to enhance employee satisfaction, and to empower our workforce. It will bring greater efficiency through a single unified user experience, automated processes, and on-demand reporting. UKG will also ensure that we stay compliant with the ever-changing regulations and offers the scalability to grow alongside of our district. Next slide. So what are we excited about? Well, suffice to say there's way more to be excited about than could possibly fit on a single slide. But here are a few examples of what UKG will help improve within CPS. UKG will help us to move away from unsustainable practices, embrace a modern paperless approach, and our employees will have greater transparency and control over their information, which will ultimately lead to a more empowered workforce. And for those joining our district in the future, we'll be offering a premium, user-friendly experience from their very first interaction with us. Next slide. So how have our teams supported this? Well, the implementation has been a truly cross-functional effort, or cross-departmental effort, with teams from human resources, finance, and technology innovation all working tirelessly to ensure a smooth transition. To provide some more granular data, this infographic shows the number of engagements, reviews, discovery completions by each department. And to put some numbers behind it, collectively, our departments have participated in over 300 engagements and reviews over the past year to ensure we are asking all the questions that need to be asked in preparation for this change. We began early with careful planning and capacity building, and now we're well into the configuration and implementation phases as we get ready to go live in the not-too-distant future. Next slide, please. We're excited to share our timeline for rolling out UKG. We're taking a phased approach to ensure a smooth transition for everyone. Early in 2025, we will launch the recruitment module, streamlining the application process for external candidates. And by summer of 2025, we'll have new time clocks in place, integrated badge access for added convenience, and to enhance our security. The mid-summer mark will be a major milestone as we launch the core HR, payroll, and timekeeping modules, bringing key employee data and processes into the new system. In the fall, we will expand the platform and introduce the benefits module, simplifying the enrollment management for employees. And as we head into fall and winter, we'll complete the rollout of the platform with employee self-service, giving our staff easy access to their information, and our full learning management system supporting our professional development across the district. This timeline reflects our commitment to a thoughtful and well-executed implementation, and I'm committing to you that we will keep you updated on our progress. So how do we engage our CPS employees during this transition? We know that clear and consistent communication is key to any successful transition, and that's why we're launching a comprehensive communication campaign to keep employees informed and engaged along the way. We will be showcasing the benefits, highlighting the improved user experience, especially within the employee self-service portal. And we want our staff to be excited about the ease and convenience that UKG will bring to their daily tasks, providing clear timelines and sharing high-level overviews of the rollout phases so everyone knows what to expect and when. We'll be offering sneak peeks and giving employees a glimpse of the system's look and feel and building familiarity and excitement. And we'll be creating opportunities for dialogue, hosting Q&A sessions and providing multiple channels for feedback, ensuring that everyone feels heard and supported. Our goal, to build trust and excitement, demonstrating that this transition is a positive step forward for CPS and our entire workforce. Transitioning to a new system comes with challenges, and we're committed to supporting our employees throughout this process. And here is how we're going to be preparing everyone. One, we're going to offer some paycheck modeling, providing tools and resources to help employees understand that their paychecks might look different in the new system. And we want them to understand and ensure a smooth transition and minimize any surprises. We're looking at financial wellness resources and researching solutions for employee financial wellness to empower them to make informed decisions about their own finances. We will host regular Q&A sessions, both in person and online, to address any questions or concerns that employees may have, and provide comprehensive communication campaign to continue providing regular updates, training materials, and user guides for our employees. We also are looking at dedicated support between our HR and technology teams to make sure that we have people available to provide personalized support, ensuring everyone feels comfortable and confident using the new system. Our priority is to make this transition as seamless as possible for our employees. By providing the resources, support, and information they need, we're confident that UKG will be a positive change for our entire school division. Next slide. In closing, UKG represents a significant investment in our school district's future. It's an investment in our employees, our operational efficiencies, our ability to attract and retain top talent, and we are keenly aware that ongoing communication around this project will be critical to its success and to help everyone to prepare for upcoming changes. We fully expect to bring topics requiring review and approval back to the board as part of our preparation to go live in July of 2025. And we look forward to those opportunities to share more details with you about our transition to UKG. So thank you for providing me and the team the opportunity to share the great work that's been going on, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank Dr. Faust and to your team for that presentation. Does any board member have any questions? Mr. McCormick?
Thank you, Dr. Faust. Seems like this platform is going to provide a lot of resource for our employees. One question is, and I wasn't quite clear what falls under the HR category. Is this mainly just to give access to employees for benefits or also resolve HR issues, like giving a portal for employees to communicate issues within their building, within their chain of command? Is that part of it? Is that a tool that we're using?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I think that's one of the things we're trying to really focus in on. This is going to be one-stop shopping, one pane of glass for your HR questions, your HR resources and support materials, as well as, hey, I have a problem, I have an issue, who do I talk to, how do I get in touch with them? And obviously, sometimes that's just a phone call, but maybe you don't know what phone number to call. All of that information would be right there available to the employee through the portal so that they can get all of that in one place rather than having to go to multiple places to get that information.
Yeah, and I'll make the parallel in IT world. When you have an IT issue, you get a ticket. So you get an IT ticket to say, here's my issue and here's how it's being dealt with, or here's who's been assigned to communicate back with me. I think it'd be helpful for HR to have a similar type of clear path of, I've got an issue with XYZ, there's been a ticket, here's who's handling it, here's who you need to communicate with, so that people within the building or teachers can easily and have full transparency on how to process through any situation that they're dealing with.
Absolutely, and there is a tracking feature for anything that you have open as a case with HR at that time for both the employee and the HR person assigned to it. I don't know if there's a ticket number. It's a great question, actually. I need to go back and look at that, but we'll find out.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
I see no additional questions at this time. Thank you, Dr. Faust.
Thank you.
Next on the information agenda is the Recovery School update. Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Swaggart. Tonight I will update the board on the Region 2 Recovery School Steering Committee progress. But before I do that, I have to thank two people, Dr. Brooke Rudis in the Office of Student Conduct and Support, and Mr. Paul Wilson, Director of Student Support Services, who has been instrumental in helping me as we go along with this process. So thank you, Mr. Wilson. The committees include leaders from Chesapeake, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Suffolk, and Virginia Beach who are actively working together to develop a proposal for the Regional Recovery School Center. Each division is committed to presenting a final proposal to their boards for review and action this upcoming January. While my presentation offers an overview, full program details will be included in the proposal document in late January as more work is completed by the committee. To begin, I'll highlight the driving forces behind this project, the support from the Governor and the General Assembly. The General Assembly allocated $1.5 million to be split between Loudoun County and Virginia Beach Public Schools for planning and implementing a recovery school. Each will receive $500,000 in the first year for planning, an additional $250,000 in the second year. This funding reflects strong legislative support for recovery schools, championed by Delegate Ann Farrell Tata and backed by Governor Youngkin, who emphasizes efforts to combat the opioid crisis through Senate Bill 726, mandating school overdose prevention policies. The governor's quote reflects a strong commitment to tackling addiction and overdose prevention. It underscores a pledge to exhaust all efforts and resources to combat the opioid epidemic, demonstrating a resolute dedication to the well-being of all Virginians. With the one-year planning grant from the General Assembly, a part-time project coordinator began in August, forming a regional steering committee with leaders from the 5 school divisions to collectively plan the Region 2 Recovery Center. While Virginia Beach will serve as the fiscal agent, our division, along with Norfolk, Portsmouth, and Suffolk, will share the decision-making equally. The committee's first meeting took place back in August, with monthly meetings since to align with our planning timeline. The Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority, or VOAA, was also identified as a potential funding source, and the project coordinator has actively engaged with VOAA through workshops and meetings. The timeline has 3 main phases. Phase 1, monthly updates and planning through January. And Phase 2, If board approved by February, hiring a program coordinator to transition from the current coordinator. In phase 3, March through June, hiring clinical staff and final preparation for an August 1st opening. Here's a summary of our recent progress. First, the Regional Steering Committee have been thoughtful partners with the Chesterfield Recovery Academy, Virginia's first and only public recovery school, which opened 3 years ago with General Assembly funding. In September, the 5 participating divisions visited Chesterfield, where we toured the facility, spoke with students, observed academics, and learned about operational aspects. This partnership allows Chesapeake and other Region 2 divisions to benefit from Chesterfield's experience as we continue planning for the Regional Recovery Center. The steering committee has integrated research supporting the recovery school model and a rationale for establishing one among the 5 participating centers into a formal program proposal, which will be shared with all school boards in January. As part of this work, we've compiled 23-24 discipline data on drug and alcohol-related referrals by school division for grades 6 through 12. Analyzing this data is essential to understanding each district's unique needs, guiding targeted planning and resource allocation. Here's a compelling visual. An interactive map based on Virginia Commonwealth University's research illustrate the opioid epidemic impacts on Virginia localities. This impact is measured by lost labor, healthcare costs, and crime. The per capita cost reflects the cost per person relative to each locality's population. Chesapeake at $500,000, Virginia Beach is at $473, Suffolk is at $696, and Norfolk has the highest at $983 per person. This data informs our work, highlighting the various needs across regions and guiding our planning to address these impacts effectively. To bring the school closer to reality, the steering committee engaged in a series of meetings face-to-face, virtual, and one-on-ones, where representatives agreed upon the name Harbor Hope Center for the recovery program. This name embodies both the safety of the harbor and the hope for recovery for each student who will attend. Moving forward, we will refer to our recovery school as Harbor Hope Center. The Harbor Hope Center will be located at the Educational Service Center, commonly known as the CSEP building. The center will occupy areas vacated by the Department of Technology, who will be moving to a new location in March. Additionally, this location is centrally located for the 5 participating cities, with the distance for each city school administration building being 11 miles for Norfolk and Portsmouth, 28 for Suffolk, and 14 for Virginia Beach. Placing Harbor Hope Center outside a traditional high school offers key advantages, primarily reducing the stigma often associated with recovery. In its early work, the steering committee established the purpose of Harbor Hope Center. This purpose acknowledges that recovery is nonlinear. Some students stay at the center through graduation, while others will transition back to their home schools. As we continue through the slides, this purpose will become even clearer. The steering committee also developed a mission to guide Harbor Hope Center's work. Once the school is approved and a program coordinator and clinical staff are hired, it's essential that the Harbor Hope Center staff work collaboratively to refine this mission. To clarify, Harbor Hope Center is not a comprehensive high school. It's not an alternative school placement. and it's not a local educational agency or LEA of Chesapeake. It's a center open to all Region 2 students. While 5 school divisions are committed to supporting the center, students from other divisions can attend based on a payment agreement with their home division. When this General Assembly funding was secured, all of Region 2 superintendents were invited to participate in the regional planning process. The 5 divisions currently involved expressed a commitment to this initiative. The Harbor Hope Steering Committee dedicated planning time to developing goals and objectives for the program. On this slide, you'll see 5 goals for Harbor Hope Center, or HHC. Take a moment and read these, and I'll move to a sample of what objectives will look like. Here's an example aligned with each division's commitment to preparing students for the future, featuring measurable objectives. While this is a high-level view, Harbor Hope Center staff will further develop these measures. Before presenting the clinical and academic components, here's an overview of the 6 positions proposed by the HHC Steering Committee, which will be included in the final budget. The project coordinator is collaborating with Chesapeake Behavioral Integrated Health to create and potentially staff these clinical roles. At the Harbor Hope Center, the academic classroom will blend grade levels and abilities, offering 3 tailored components. First, the multi-division online platform that we call MOP. Using the Imagine Learning platform, students can take up to 8 asynchronous courses annually, supported by a teacher in person and accessible to instructors remotely. There will also be credit recovery for students retaking failed courses asynchronously, facilitated by an in-person teacher. And for those who are unlikely to complete a standard diploma, we will be offering the GED. Students may be enrolled in multiple components as needed to support their progress. The Harbor Hope Center's clinical team, unlike traditional school counselors, will offer focused counseling and case management through a multidisciplinary approach, integrating peer support with evidence-based practices. This support will be available to students and families year-round. The Harbor Hope Center Steering Committee is still finalizing a daily schedule to be presented in the next update. For now, here's an operational overview. HHC will be located here in Chesapeake and will serve students concurrently enrolled in their home school divisions. It will operate on a modified year-round schedule, following the traditional calendar with continued remote academic and clinical support during the summer months. Students will observe our holiday and reporting calendar with adjustments for each division's schedule. A rolling start and end time will accommodate travel needs supported by flexible academic and clinical scheduling. Each division has created a transportation plan tailored to its needs within the HHC framework. It should be noted that in some cases, students may be permitted to drive. As you can see, Chesapeake will use a bus hub system where students will ride the IB bus that drops off at a school and then is transported to the HHC Center. Cost details will be included in the final budget. The Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority manages settlement funds from drug manufacturers, distributors, and dispensers the largest national settlement to date, continuing through 2039. These funds require a direct connection to opioid abatement. The recovery school qualifies for using this type of funding. So the HHC committee is working with localities to request direct funds for startup support, and some cities will also use individual grants. Additionally, our program coordinator is developing a coordinated partnership grant across 5 participating cities. The competitive grant, which requires matching direct funds, will be reviewed by the authority in May of 2025. Community support is essential for the Harbor Hope Center. Each division has cataloged supporters who will lend their backing when the program moves forward. The Abatement Authority grants also require formal community support, making early partnerships crucial. Here's a snapshot of our initial supporters. Beyond this, the HHC Steering Committee is collaborating with state and local entities, including each division's Community Service Board, CIBH, the Opioid Abatement Authority, VDOE, and the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. There is work still to be done. Here I've highlighted the areas which the steering committee will complete prior to my next update the first week in January. I'll give you a moment to take a look at it. I'll return in January for a final update before each division's action presentations in late January. If approved, we will proceed with hiring a program coordinator and clinical staff, transitioning the planning work to those who will open the school. It's been rewarding to collaborate with leadership across the 5 cities to bring this school from an idea to a reality. While our pace has been quite ambitious, the steering committee is pleased with the progress and hopes you are too. So today I provided a broad overview. Remember, this is a regional initiative and many specifics will be refined by the future HHC staff. And we'll keep you abreast every step of the way. This concludes my presentation. May I answer any questions at this time?
Thank you, Dr. Miller, for the presentation. Very thorough. Does any board member have any questions at this time? I don't see any, and we look forward to your presentation in January.
Thank you.
We will now move on to the transportation growth update. Back to you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Chairman Swigert. Today I have Dr. David Benson, Director of Transportation, who's coming before you. You requested an update on the school board in regards to transportation and what we've done. We've got many things accomplished, but there's still a lot of work to do. And Dr. Benson is going to share that with you this evening. David.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Good evening, Chair Swagger, school board members, Dr. Cotton, and administrative staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to share with you some of the milestones the Department of Transportation has overcome and, as Dr. Miller said, some key goals that we still have to achieve. Let's begin with the positives. There we go. Let's begin with the positives, our successes. We've had numerous successes over the last decade or more. One that I am extremely proud of is how technologically advanced our fleet is compared to others in our region. While this didn't happen overnight, we are continuing to grow even now. In looking back at the history, this success began in 2010 when Angel Track's digital camera systems were added to our buses to capture digital video of events that occur on the bus to help with behavior incidents as well as accident investigations. Next, we moved to centralized parking. While this is not a technological advancement, it was a tremendous impact to fleet efficiency. This allows us to use the technology available on our bus to better meet the needs of the fleet to minimize delays. This is possible through Zonar. Zonar is the GPS tracking system that was added to our fleet in 2015. This system allows us to track the physical location of the buses at all times. This live data is available at a moment's notice with just a few keystrokes. Prior to this technology, we had no way of knowing where our buses were located in the city. Next, we added 800 megahertz radios to our fleet in 2016. Prior to these, we had analog radios that were extremely limited, and we had to depend on drivers relaying messages over the 350 square mile radius of the city. Additionally, now we have the capability of communicating directly with police and fire in the event of an emergency over our radios. In 2020, we expanded to add stop arm cameras to our buses. Through a partnership with Bus Patrol, our buses are equipped with 14 cameras to include 7 stop arm cameras to capture vehicles that fail to stop for the stop arm of the school bus when it's deployed. However, all 14 of these cameras can be viewed live while the bus is in operation, providing us with views from both inside and outside the bus. Over the last couple of years, we have experienced great success with this program that is 100% citation driven. During the 23-24 school year, we began the implementation of ID badges. This was added as an additional safety measure. Through the use of ID badges, we not only have real-time information as to the ridership of students on the buses, but they are also being used currently in multiple other aspects inside the school. These include assisting with the efficiency of students moving through the lunch lines when purchasing lunches, to checking out library books and capturing tardy data. We expanded the program at the beginning of this year to include the 6th grade students at the middle school, and are hoping to add the remaining middle school students and all high school students before the end of this school year. We have also experienced some additional operational successes in our overall functions by making adjustments to our start and stop times and the distance to bus stops. Prior to adjusting our current start and stop times, we had 22 different start and stop times across the division. This generated numerous logistical challenges due to the short time between certain tiers. By moving to 3 consistent start and stop times, allowing at least 35 minutes between tiers provides more time for buses to be able to complete 3 full tiers. Adjusting the distance from 1/10 to 3/10 of a mile students can travel to the nearest bus stop increase the efficiency of our routes by allowing fewer stops to be made to accommodate our students and shortening the length of time it takes to complete a route. It also prevents traveling down many cul-de-sacs, which helps to prevent backing accidents. Additionally, making fewer stops means less wear and tear on the brakes, which also reduces our maintenance costs. Over the next several slides, I'll share with you our key goals to achieving success in the future. While our focus is on these 2 key areas, bus driver recruitment and securing a new routing software, understand that these impact so much of what we do on a daily basis that there are other factors that are tied to these. Here are some facts to set the stage for what we are facing with the challenge of recruiting bus drivers. Even though we have put COVID behind us, the data here shows how the aftermath is still impacting us. Just to provide some perspective, let's look at where we are now compared to where we were several years ago. Pre-COVID in 2018, we had only 13 vacancies. We then began to see a small uptick in our vacancy numbers from March of 2019 through March of 2020, where we were at approximately 28 to 29 vacancies, and I can remember at that point thinking, what are we going to do with all these vacancies? Then post-COVID hit, and the bottom fell out, and we had a drastic jump in the 21-22 school year, which took us to 112 vacant bus driver positions. We started to make some gains in 22-23, averaging around 90 to 91 vacancies. Last year, we made some additional gains, but still averaged approximately 84 vacancies throughout the year, and currently we're at 82 vacancies. While we are not gaining ground, we're not losing ground, and I'm happy to let you know tonight, I just found out today, the 82, we've actually broken that threshold. We're down to 77 now, so I wanted to share that. That's always a good measure going in the right direction. However, when you look at the pre and post numbers of the vacancies and recruitment efforts, we have maintained consistency. When you look at the first 3 years and then look at the last 3 years, the total number of vacancies stay relatively consistent. This has a lot to do with our clientele. Typically, every year, we have about double digits of employees that either retire or leave for various reasons. So while we do get candidates in, our turnover prevents us from making significant gains. Which leads us to our bus driver recruitment efforts. While the current number of vacancies may not reflect it, our recruitment efforts are still in full swing. Here is a snapshot of all that we have done to recruit bus drivers. We offer lead driver supplements. This allows drivers the opportunity to serve as a lead driver to receive a $1,500 supplement annually for their efforts. We also still have referral and sign-on bonuses. The referral bonus allows $200 to go to any driver who refers a candidate that completes the training and becomes a full-time driver. There is also a $750 sign-on bonus for any candidate who gets hired and is still in good standing after 6 months. We also offer career ladder options that provides drivers the opportunity to become a 7 or 8 hour driver. Last year, a $4,000 bonus through the use of ESSER funds was given as a retention recruitment bonus during that year, and it was a huge hit. We have also increased our driver's pay to $22.16 per hour, which was also extremely positive, which puts us the third highest within divisions in our immediate area on the south side. We've begun doing walk-in job fairs, which seem to be generating additional candidates. Our last class to finish began with 9 potential drivers, which has been one of the largest classes we've had for some time. Additionally, we monitor reasons why drivers leave. We review the reasons why candidates leave employment to determine what, if any, changes we can make. Retirement, other employment, and resignations are among the top 3 reasons why a driver leaves these positions. In addition to everything we've done, now let's take a look at some of the things that we're planning to do differently. We are looking at planning 2 on-site job fairs just for school bus drivers. The first will be held here at Christina Way later this week. They will be advertised both internally and externally to hopefully generate candidates and to include some of our dual employees. So you may ask, what makes these job fairs different? They will be interactive. Candidates will complete a bus test drive. Candidates will be given the opportunity to test drive a bus in a vacant lot with the assistance of a certified driver. We hope that this will ease candidates' anxiety to driving that big yellow bus. We're also going to provide incentives for anyone that attends. Incentives will include, we'll be providing lunch to all candidates that come in, and we'll be doing hourly drawings to give away a turkey and a ham each hour. Some additional measures that have been taken to or have been implemented to assist with the shortages is schools are encouraged to use our parent alert system to provide better communication to parents via text messaging. We have also worked on combining and adjusting routes for more consistency. Schools are allowing routes to drop off sooner so that buses can go back and pick up additional students and hopefully have them arrive back to school closer to on time. This will also allow bus routes to have more that are regularly double ups and double backs to have a more consistent time for their pickup and drop off. Our next key goal is to secure new routing software. I want to first share some background information with you as to why we're looking to replace Compass, which is our current routing software. Prior to purchasing Compass in 2019-2020, we had SmartR routing, which had not been supported for 3 years prior to replacing it. Once it was purchased, we did not get to fully implement the software for approximately a year due to the impacts of COVID. When routes returned to normal use, we began to fully implement the software. When we began to implement it, we realized shortcomings in the software due to incompatibility with our Zonar hardware on the bus. These shortcomings impacted our ability to benefit from being able to push routes out to tablets on the bus to assist drivers covering routes that they were unfamiliar with, and limited our ability to provide parents with notifications of students' ridership data. And it also required manual entry of substitute bus data, which negatively impacts the School Bus Hub app that parents rely on. In 23-24, both Zonar and SafeFleet, the company that owned Compass, were placed on alert that they must develop a partnership. This partnership would have allowed us to resolve the issues we were experiencing. This was to be completed prior to the start of the 24-25 school year. Prior to the end of the 23-24 school year, SafeFleet was bought out by a company called Clariance. In August, prior to the start of the 24-25 school year, we were informed that the development of the partnership would be postponed due to other priorities. Shortly after, we were informed that they would no longer be supporting school bus routing software. That brings us to the 24-25 school year. We've now developed an RFP committee that has developed an RFP that is out searching for a replacement for our Compass software. There are limitations and concerns that we need to consider, and they are as follows. The RFP process does take time to ensure we get the best solution moving forward. We have to research all the options to make sure we have a total solution when we get to the other side. Basically, we're looking for two options. One vendor that can provide everything under one umbrella. This would include all the components currently available with Zonar GPS, which are tracking, obviously, pre- and post-trip inspections, bus diagnostics, and student badge ID tracking. Additionally, the total solution must include software needed to develop routes, ability to push routes out to tablets on the bus, parent notifications through a parent app, as well as live tracking capabilities for parents, or a routing software vendor that provides a total solution through an established partnership with our current hardware vendor, Zonar. Once an option is selected and installed, then our GIS staff will have to be trained to develop routes in the new software for the upcoming school year. This process of developing routes begins the first week in April for the upcoming school year. So for that reason, the software would need to be in place no later than March 1st to provide training for our GIS staff. Solutions to be considered by the committee are to make sure that the app will provide consistent bus information to our parents. This will be dependent on the communication between the software and the hardware selected or used on the bus. This is going to make sure we're focusing on ensuring parents get real-time communication to include push notifications for students getting on and off the bus, live monitoring of students to be available to parents, the ability to push routes out to tablets, automated bus substitutions that will track across all avenues, and the ability to communicate with schools. And we also have to make sure that the company selected can meet our time constraints and get everything installed. So with those few minor tasks, I'll open it up to any questions that you may have.
Dr. Walker?
Dr. Benson, I have a question. It looks like, so from my perspective, the thing I get contacted about the most is just about the communication piece. And it looks like there is something in the works for that in the future moving forward, which is great. But I did want to ask a question about, on one of the slides it says that schools have been encouraged to use text messaging through the parent alert system. Is that an encouraged thing or is that an expectation? And I know that might not be a you question, but I'm just wondering at what, sorry, your face. At what point is that an expectation that we're setting forth? Because I think the biggest frustration I hear from parents is that they're waiting and waiting and waiting on a bus that they have no idea where it is, or they're waiting and waiting and waiting on their kid to get home that they don't know where they are. So I just didn't know kind of if that was the expectation or not.
Yes, I can answer that question. That is the expectation, and it's very easy to do now with ThrillShare through Aptigee, where they can do a simple text message to the parents. It's more problematic, however, in the morning, because a lot of changes happen very quickly in the morning, but definitely in the afternoon, because I know we've had complaints about parents wondering, and that is the number one complaint I get as well, is we understand the bus is late, but we need to know that it's on the way. So we've been working on that in the morning. As we've also said, we're expecting principals to allow students to drop off early so that the bus can do another run. Also, so parents can drop their children off early in the morning. We've been working on that as well. So there's lots of things that we put in place. Dr. Miller just reinforced those things with principals recently. So there's no mistake that that's something we have to do now as we continue to navigate our challenges.
Can I just follow up really quickly? I just think that the community hearing these things and hearing that this is a priority for you and your department is super helpful. So thank you for clarifying that, because I think a lot of times there's things in the works that people just aren't aware of that are happening. So it's good to hear that, and it's good to hear that that's a big priority. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McCormick?
Thank you, Dr. Benson.
Yes, sir.
I know I've been vocal about transportation with you and Dr. Cotton, and we use the BLESS system, and so I think all the things that you identified, I know myself and other parents are well aware of some of the issues, and I'm excited to hear that there's some hope moving forward that we'll be able to implement some technology solutions and some automated solutions to help communicate with parents. What is your timeline on this? I know there's a lot to be done. Do you have goals on when some of this is to be met, goals for yourself, goals within the department, any idea of when we could expect to see some results?
Well, we are really pushing. The committee is working hard with, and I know on the slide we've got representatives from IT, budget, planning are all on this committee, and we are pushing to make sure that we can meet that goal of as close as possible having the selection made, getting intent letters to purchase out as soon as possible, and having the software in place as close to March 1st as we can get there, because we've got to get our staff trained. But we're also being very cognizant of making sure we really scrutinize over the vendor that we're going to select, because we're looking for that total solution. They have to come in and be able to provide all of those components that we're looking for, whichever way we go with the two options. So that's, in the end, that's the most important piece, but we have to get that in place so that we can develop routes for the upcoming year in April. So we've got a very tight timeline, and we're not going to be dragging our feet. We can't afford to drag our feet, so we'll be pushing very hard towards that.
To what extent, if any, is Zonar a limitation? I think Zonar was implemented, was it 2020? I can't remember what the slide
2015.
said. 2015.
Well, and it's not the limitation of Zonar itself. It's the limitation of the compatibility of the software running on that hardware. That's why we were pushing them to develop a partnership. When we purchased both of those, there are very few companies out there that can accomplish everything that we have in our total solution under one umbrella. We wrote the RFP such that if there is a company out there that can provide the GPS tracking, everything that we get from Zonar, and also provide the routing and both sides of that house, and do both sides as well as we want it done, we're going to look at that company. But the piece that has to be, they have to come in with an established partnership so that if we do, their software is running on our Zonar hardware, it has to be through an established partnership where they've already done that in other school divisions and they've experienced success with that. So that's why we mean by the shortcoming that we have with our current software is they wouldn't develop the partnership and then the company basically went out of business.
Are we considering a hardware change in need? I don't know what other hardware is out there. Hardware changes a lot in a decade, and
yes.
Technology changes a lot in a decade. Is Zonar dated and not keeping up? Or
no, Zonar is keeping up. I mean, they have updated tablets. We've been since 2015, and we are already on our 4th generation of tablet within the Zonar system. So they're keeping up with the technology. The problem is getting a vendor that's compatible and will run on their hardware, and that's what we were pushing that partnership to do before they decided they didn't want to do school bus business anymore. So, but we're looking at all options. Could it mean a change in hardware? It could. Could it mean using the current hardware we have? It could. We're really going to scrutinize over every vendor that comes in.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing it.
We're excited.
Ms. Scott?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Dr. Benson, for the thorough presentation tonight. I know, like Dr. Walker said, a lot of our parents appreciate that. And I also just wanted to say that we're one of the families that have benefited from the PAS messages coming out at Greenbrier Intermediate about the double backs and stuff. So we appreciate the increased communication. And then I also just want to acknowledge this lovely woman who spoke tonight who drives for Chesapeake Public Schools. I really appreciate your commitment to our children. And I feel like you exemplify the exceptional people that we have here in Chesapeake Public Schools that drive for our students. And so kudos to you. Thank you for being here tonight. I know you gave me some food for thought, and I just appreciate you very much. Thank you, Dr. Benson.
Likewise.
Dr. Walker?
Sorry, I do have one more question. I'm curious. I heard you say if something like this exists, we want to look at it thoroughly. Do we know of any surrounding school divisions who are using a solution that really encompasses the whole thing under one umbrella, kind of like you were mentioning? Like, do we know that exists?
Well, not to throw anyone under the bus, there is a school division, literally. I live there,
Don't name
right?
any names. I'm just kidding.
But there is a school division in the south side that is in the process of purchasing a new vendor. That is one that's under the umbrella of one company. And there are a couple of school divisions close by that I've actually gone and visited that use the Zonar plus a software model. So that's why I say we're not going to rule anything out. We want to look because we want to come out on the other side with the best possible solution, but it's got to meet within those parameters that we're looking for.
So we think there's great potential for possibly both options to explore.
Absolutely.
That exists.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm sure we'll have responses on both sides of that coin.
I didn't know if that was wishful thinking or if we knew it existed, so that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
I see no additional questions at this time, so thank you, Dr. Benson.
Thank you.
The last item on the information agenda tonight is the work session for the superintendent's proposed capital improvement plan. Over to you, Ms. Stutz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the board may recall, the initial presentation for the superintendent's proposed capital improvement plan for 2025 through 2035 was held at the last school board meeting on October 21st. Earlier tonight, the first public hearing was held. And tonight we'll have a presentation and a work session. Alex Pope, the interim planning administrator, will present and we'll try to answer any questions you may have this evening. Alex?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present the second presentation for the superintendent's proposed capital improvement plan 2025-2035. And we'll start tonight's presentation with projects that we currently have underway. Then we're going to move on to year one unfunded CIP projects. And we're going to start that discussion off by highlighting a couple of our priority projects that we have in line, and then finish up with our yearly costs and 5-year grand total. So beginning with projects underway, preface this slide by saying that all of these projects do currently have funding for both design and construction, so that's good news to start off with. The first one being our Crestwood Elementary School. that is a K-5 replacement building for the current Crestwood Intermediate School. And it's currently under construction, which is moving right along really well, which is why there are 2 dates on here. We have 26-27 in our CIP, which is what the date's been. When the construction bid went out, it was to go through December of 2025. However, with all the dry weather we've had in the last year, you know, it's not great for your grass, but it's great for construction timelines. And we are currently in a phase of being a little bit optimistic with this, that it might be able to finish construction during the coming summer, in which case we would bump up that opening for next year. That's not a guarantee at this point. We have to kind of wait until we get through the winter and see how the weather goes over the course of the winter. And we'll update you as we get closer to that completion dates. But we are, as staff, internally preparing for the potential that this could be a real thing that happens, which would be fantastic. Right, and we have a building addition at Southeastern Elementary School. It's currently under design, scheduled to open for 2026-27. The construction contract for that will go out to bid by December 1st. And then the last one is the new elementary school at the Culpeper Landing subdivision site that's currently under design and scheduled to open for 2027-28 school year. All right, continuing with our major mechanical maintenance projects, we have HVAC replacements under design for a partial one at Greenbrier Intermediate, as well as a full one at Thurgood Marshall, and that one will take course over the place at 2 summers. And then we have 2 chiller replacements at Indian River High and Western Branch High Schools. 2 roof replacements under design right now for Great Bridge Middle School and Jolliffe Middle School. And then repavings, we have phase 2 at Great Bridge High, as well as Greenbrier Primary, Rena B. Wright, and Western Branch Middle Schools. All right, so these projects on this page now are not actual CIP projects, but we want you all to be informed. We know you get questions from the public. So when someone comes and says, what's that construction project, Crestwood Middle, you know it's window replacements. Then we also have 2 auditorium renovations going on at Indian River Middle and Western Branch Middle Schools. Playground improvements at Greenbrier Primary and Western Branch Intermediate. And then security vestibules at Hugo Owens Middle, Hickory Middle, and Crestwood Middle School. And the really good news about that is those are the last 3 of our secondary schools that need security vestibules. So once those projects are complete, every secondary school and the Chesapeake Public Schools School District will have security vestibules in them. And those building modifications at B.M. Williams, that's tied into the Crestwood Elementary School. When that opens, obviously it'll be K-5, but B.M. Williams will move to K-5 as well. And being that it's operating as a primary school at the moment, it doesn't necessarily have the capability to give the instructional spaces that we need for a full K-5, and those building modifications will help deal with that. Again, more projects that are not actually in the CIP, but we want you to be informed on them, are the Central Athletic Fund projects. We took these out of the CIP a few years ago, but they still go on all the time. Track replacements at Deep Creek High and Great Bridge Middle School. Lighting improvements at 2 of our stadiums at Great Bridge Middle and Deep Creek Middle School. And then also at some of our athletic fields at Jolliffe Middle School, Greenbrier Middle School, and Hugo Owens Middle School. We're also currently working to make sure that all of our high school fields are ADA accessible. All right, moving on to our year 1 proposed CIP projects, we wanted to start off with a quick summary of the timeline for funding. As you know, we did the 5-year summary of the first 5 years of the CIP in our October school board meeting. And appropriations for the projects in the first year of the CIP are considered by City Council in May of each year. And the final appropriations that they give to us determine what funding we have, what projects we can complete, and if we don't get funding for certain projects, then those ones have to get bumped to subsequent years. But we'll spend the following slides focusing on those year 1 projects. So as I said at the top, we wanted to start off pointing out these priority projects, those being the replacement building for the Chesapeake Career Center, as well as the replacement building for Carver Intermediate, which would then convert that building to K-5 as well. The reason that we are prioritizing these, I know Paige touched on it at the joint meeting with school board and city council, is when we did our facilities consultant study, we came up with these TCI scores as part of that. And essentially what that is that's taking both the building's physical condition as well as its ability to house the necessary instructional spaces for whatever use that building is. And it combines those two. So the higher the score is really highlighting how much need for improvement each building has. And over the last few years, we've done a pretty good job of covering most of those high scores that we got from that study. And these two are really the major exceptions to that. And we don't have funding for Carver, and we have a little bit of funding for the Career Center. That $13 million would cover design and any potential land acquisition. But while that's great that we have that money, this is a building that's going to cost north of $100 million. So you can see how small of a total percentage that is for actually getting the building constructed. And the other thing that ties into that is we can't really design the building until we know we're going to get funding for construction. Because, say, if we designed it now and then we didn't get funding for a few years, you could run into some issue where there's an issue with the site or some change in instructional needs, and now we have to go back and sink more cost back into design. So there's really no point in doing that design work until we know that we're going to be able to fund construction. So those points are really why we wanted to highlight these two projects, and they'll be our focus in the coming years of trying to acquire funding for those. And then our other major project is the building modifications at the Edwards Wilson Center for the accommodation of the adult ed program. And that would be completed in 26-27. We do already have design funds for that project. Construction is only in year one because the city put it in their 5-year financing plan, but we don't actually have the funding yet. So technically we're still asking for those appropriations. Right, these are year one proposed. I don't know what I just did. Oh, there it goes. Sorry about that. These are our major mechanical maintenance projects in year one. HVAC replacements, roof replacements, and repavings. If there's an asterisk, it's a partial replacement. If there's no asterisk, it's a full replacement. Those ones marked as construction were the ones that I pointed out in projects underway that are currently being designed. That's why they're on there a second time. And every year we kind of like to stop down at this part of the presentation because, you know, I was just talking about priority projects for our larger ones. That's not to say that these aren't also a priority. These are more of like continuous. Every year we have to be updating this list and make sure that we're funding these projects, because if we're not doing them, that's when the buildings start to degrade, and then you run into having to do a much more expensive like building replacement or renovation rather than these smaller projects. And then they also start to pile up on you. You have a lot more that you have to fund because we haven't been funding them every year. And right now, of these year one projects, the ones highlighted are the ones that we anticipate we're going to be able to acquire funding for. The rest are still in year one because they are priority projects. Those replacements need to happen. We just don't know that we're going to acquire all of the funding for it. It's just another one of those points of making that, you know, we need to acquire more funding than we currently do. All right, so I'll summarize our 5-year CIP project costs. Again, we were highlighting year one projects in this presentation. That total was $114,140,600. Then the subsequent years, year two is $32,641,600. Year three is $282,717,400. Year four is $144,167,200. And then year five is $11,288,000. For our 5-year grand total of $584,954,800. So going forward, we have another meeting upcoming that is a public hearing work session and requesting a final action on the CIP. That's scheduled for Monday, December 9th. Does anyone have any questions?
I see no questions, Mr. Pope. Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no items on the action agenda tonight, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Over to you, Dr. Cotton.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I do have a couple announcements for this month. November is Family Engagement Month and Native American Heritage Month. As a reminder, schools and offices will be closed Wednesday, November 27th through Friday, November 29th for the Thanksgiving holiday. Again, I don't think I need to remind anyone of that. Also look forward to seeing all of you at the Teacher of the Year ceremony and reception, which will be held at Indian River High School on December 5th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. So looking forward to that event. I do want to make a couple statements this evening related to school safety. Ensuring the safety of our students and staff is the highest priority for Chesapeake Public Schools. As the board members know and community members know, we do have a school safety task force where we meet monthly to talk about safety initiatives in our schools. We've had recent incidents across our district that have underscored the importance of maintaining a proactive and collaborative approach to school safety. Of course, we had a speaker this evening talking about safety. Tonight, I want to address these concerns, highlight steps we are taking to enhance security, and emphasize the role each member of our community plays in fostering a safe learning environment. First, we are deeply concerned about reports of students opening exterior doors for visitors. We spend time talking to our students about the importance of not opening doors and letting people in the building who have not gone through the proper procedures. And of course, students who do this face serious consequences. This is a critical safety breach, and we cannot overstate the importance of keeping all exterior doors secured. We remind students and staff that all visitors must enter through the main entrance and present a valid ID. Violations of this policy will result in serious disciplinary actions, which will also may lead to suspension or expulsion. To reinforce this message, we have shared a comprehensive safety letter with all of our high school students. Board members, I know you received a copy of this, and parents and staff also received a copy of that as well to emphasize our expectations. Additionally, we have faced incidents in our schools where students are bringing look-alike weapons, knives, and other items that do not belong in school. Possession of such items will not be tolerated, and we've reinforced this through several ways to include the letter, but also just as a reminder, we have safety meetings and discipline expectation meetings with our students on a regular basis. We actually do this quarterly, where we reinforce our expectations for student behavior. And we continue to have students bringing items to school that should not be in school, and this is what we really need our parents' help in supporting us here. If a student is found with a weapon or look-alike, they'll face severe disciplinary consequences up to including expulsion, and they may also face criminal charges. And that's the message we continue to raise with our students, that these can lead to very serious consequences that lead well into their future. So one mistake of bringing something to school that shouldn't be there could lead to serious charges well beyond disciplinary charges at school or suspensions. These measures are necessary to maintain the safety and integrity of our schools. So in order to bolster security and safety in our schools, we did communicate to our high school students a few things that we put in place in addition to all of the things that we currently have in place. We have a comprehensive approach, as you know, and that's one of the things I appreciate about Chesapeake Public Schools, is that we have lots of initiatives in place to keep our students and staff safe each and every day. We added randomized weekly weapons detection at all of our high schools, which is a discrete and efficient weapons detection system that's being used randomly at all of our 7 high schools. This measure is being used to randomly each week to identify potential threats while minimizing disruptions to the school day. And of course, this evening you all approved an upgrade to that system. We have enhanced law enforcement presence at our schools. I know you all have been a part of approving 7 additional school resource deputies to serve our elementary schools, ensuring that each deputy now serves a maximum of 2 schools, and their expanded presence supports a safer environment across all grade levels. We've really been pushing continued safety education and reporting. We're emphasizing the importance of see something, say something, and I have to tell you, I tell the students every time I meet with our students, they are so important to keeping our schools safe. And I would like to commend our students who continue to report safety concerns to staff in a timely manner, and that has really helped us keep everyone safe. We encourage our students to report safety concerns, including online threats or any rumors about weapons and things like that, directly to trusted adults or anonymously through our CPS report line. Accurate reporting is vital, and we ask everyone to avoid spreading misinformation, which can disrupt investigations and cause unnecessary fear. We love the internet, we love social media, but it's not so good when it comes to sharing misinformation. So we do remind our students and our families to please help us with sharing accurate information. The CPS report line has been promoted to our students, staff, and school communities as a valuable communication tool that allows students and others to report safety concerns anonymously. And the system breaks the code of silence by providing a secure way to share concerns with school and district administrators. And a lot of families don't realize this, but we chase down every one of those. We spend time investigating all of those that are reported to make sure that our students and staff are safe. It complements existing programs that address challenges such as bullying, peer pressure, and stress. And the report line is accessible with one click from the top of any page on our district and school websites. All of these measures reflect our unwavering commitment to ensuring every student and staff member feels safe and secure, and we certainly cannot do this alone. It takes all of us working together to uphold safety in each of our schools. So I did want to mention some of those items that are in place that we've been working on, and we have a few other items that we're continuing to explore. But like I said, what I appreciate about Chesapeake Public Schools is we work with law enforcement, first responders. We meet monthly, and we talk about safety and initiatives and ways that we can improve safety in our schools. And you heard this evening, the vestibules that we're trying to get finalized for our secondary schools will be helpful as well. But what's so important is that we all work together to ensure safety. Any questions from the board on those items? No. Okay, with that, I'll move on to our monthly report. For our spotlight, share some positive news happening this last month. As we make our way through the month of November, I'd like to take a few moments to shine the spotlight on some of the incredible things that have happened across our district in the past few weeks. One of the many things we're grateful for continues to be our outstanding community partnerships that support our efforts to inspire, engage, and empower our students to fulfill their life's purpose. This was on full display at the end of October with our third annual Worlds of Work Career Expo. The event included every 8th grader in the city and featured vendors at the Chesapeake Conference Center providing interactive, hands-on demonstrations in career fields including information technology, public safety, surveying physical therapy, architecture, and so much more. This event would not have been possible without the numerous local and regional employers who either sponsored or attended the event, as well as the Department of College and Career Readiness. Thank you for everyone's efforts in making this event such an overwhelming success again this year. Another event that was a huge success was our Access College Fair hosted by Indian River High School. Over 80 colleges and universities from across the country were on hand to meet and talk to prospective students. Our students were able to talk to representatives from the schools and learn about what paths and opportunities could be available to them. The Access College Foundation also hosted informational sessions to help parents and students with financial and informational resources. Thank you to everyone that made this year's College Fair another major success, and we wish the best of luck to all of our students as they begin to make their post-graduation plans. Grassfield High School hosted another exciting event recently with the Chamber Orchestra under the direction of Dr. Daniel Missick, Director did a good job on that. Director of Orchestra Activities at Virginia Commonwealth University. The Grizzlies played a selection of songs alongside the VCU Symphony Orchestra. Thank you to Dr. Missick for giving our students the opportunity and experience to perform with the Collegiate Orchestra. And thank you to Grassfield High School Orchestra Director Steve Fitsinas. We call him Mr. V, but for being committed to providing your students with these types of learning experiences. With Veterans Day occurring a week ago, our district has been busy celebrating the impact of our military-connected families and employees. Once again, our district has achieved the prestigious 100% Purple Star designation. Chesapeake is one of 6 school districts in the state to have every school reach Purple Star status, and I'll say the first in Virginia to have 100%. So just want to put that out there. Thank you to all the people who do such great work in meeting the needs of our military-connected students and their families. During November, our schools celebrated and honored those who have served by hosting Veterans Day events for their military-connected families, from parades to donut breakfasts. It was so nice to see our schools demonstrate their commitment to supporting our military. However, nothing says Chesapeake is a great place for veterans like this story featuring Indian River High School teacher John, Fedoritz. Take a look.
From serving in the Navy to conducting experiments in the classroom.
One veteran explains what it's like to continue his service, but in a different way. Our Cheyenne Pagan has the story from Chesapeake.
You ready? Ready to go? Ready to go? Ready to go? Ready to go? All right.
Fist bump after fist bump. Students file into Mr. Fedorowitz's classroom at Indian River High School, but they have no idea the chemistry experiment that was in store for them.
I'm going to give them a demonstration using a whoosh bottle and show them that these are covalent compounds. The thing that interests me about chemistry is the fact that it's simply rearranging the atom.
Right now, John Fedorowicz may be known as Mr. F to these high schoolers, but that's not always been the case. He retired as a commander after spending over 2 decades in the Navy.
My first job was aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt. We got ready when it went into Desert Storm. And to me, it was so interesting that when you're shipboard, there's just so much going on all the time.
After wrapping up his service, he didn't know what was next. That was until he discovered the Troops to Teachers program and decided to dive in with his chemistry degree and prior teaching knowledge in the military.
When I was done, I just kind of went out, put my name in the ring for different cities and said, I want to be a teacher now.
And that's exactly what he did, landing in Chesapeake for the last 10 years to teach kids his favorite subject.
It's amazing the flood of information and the trust they have in you once they do. And it's those little things, not necessarily having them memorize polyatomics or balance equations, but knowing that here's somebody that cares about my success. And you really, I don't think you can replicate that in any other profession but this one. Yes, there it is, right there. It's ionic.
He adds he wouldn't change a thing and wants to encourage others they can go down this career path too.
Every veteran can do this job. I mean, it's not easy, but the tools the military gives you, discipline, organization, communication, written and verbal, you have all the tools you need right now to be successful.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Cheyenne Pagan.
He's a great recruit.
Great video there. From celebrating our veterans to celebrating our champions, the Chesapeake Middle School League recently crowned 5 new Fall Sports City champions. Hickory Middle School softball and Oscar Smith Middle School football repeated as champions. Hugo Owens Middle School capped off a strong fall sports season, earning titles in both girls soccer and baseball, and Great Bridge Middle won the title in cheer. Congratulations to all of our student athletes on their winning seasons, and thank you to the coaches, trainers, and staff that make this such a big success. Not only is Chesapeake home to champions on the field, we also have some champion schools. Grassfield High, Hickory High were recently awarded the highest achievement award for the 23-24 school year. The award is given out to by the Virginia Department of Education through their Exemplar School Recognition Program and recognizes schools for the commitment to excellence and high-quality education. We are incredibly proud of Grassfield and Hickory for being recognized with this honor. It truly reflects the emphasis of schools' leadership, staff, and community and how they place the importance of achievement for all students. Congratulations to Dr. Weingen's Hawks and Mr. Honberry's Grizzlies and all of the students and staff who contributed to our schools being selected for this award. And the awards are not over yet. To conclude my spotlight, I am happy to announce our very first 3 award winners for our new Power of the Peak Employee Recognition Program. Each month, beginning in October, the Power of the Peak will recognize remarkable contributions that our district employees are making within their schools, departments, and communities. Congratulations to Van Goldston, custodian at Western Branch Primary, Laura Labiak, instructional specialist at Indian River Middle, and Melissa Oliver, Director of Assessment and Accountability, who are our October Power of the Peak Award recipients. Don't forget to visit our website to nominate a deserving employee who represents outstanding work as a support team member, teacher, or leader. They could be recognized as the next Power of the Peak. Madam Chair and members of the board, this completes my spotlight.
Thank you, Dr. Cotton. Last on our agenda this evening is board member items. Does any board member have an item to bring before the group? Seeing none, I do want to take just a moment to wish a very happy birthday to Dr. Austin, who celebrated yesterday. We hope you're having a fantastic week. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned.
Sure.